Hey everyone, today I'm in Korea, a country that's made a massive cultural wave in recent years with its pop music, dramas, and fashion. If you're sick and tired of those things, don't worry, I've got 3 unique stories that tell you so much about Korea and its amazing culture and paints a rather different Korea. If you're joining me here for the first time, I'm on a journey to read books and stories from every country on earth. If you would like to tag along, please subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for books from your country, please get in touch. All the links down below. Now, let's get into our stories. South Korea, or the Republic of Korea, has exploded in the pop culture arena, but little is known about its literature. I have to be honest, before embarking on this journey, I hadn't read a single book by a Korean author. So it was a complete journey of discovery for me. As it turned out, I'm so happy to have read books by Korean author. I have to be honest, I was somewhat prejudiced before, as I somehow thought Korean literature was just like its pop culture, but I was completely wrong. The fact that the Korean pop culture has taken over a huge segment of the world tells us about its rich storytelling and literary tradition in the background. I think literature and storytelling are the base on which you can build a solid pop culture as a product. Okay, now to our first pick. It's an oldie. It's called The Cloud Dream of the Nine, written in 1689 or thereabout by Kim Man-Jun. Fun facts about Korea. 20% of Koreans have Kim as their surname. It means gold and was the name of a 6th century king. 45% of Koreans are either Kim, Lee, or Park. The other 55%? I have no idea. The author was famous for being a loyal son, but he himself wanted his father dead as soon as possible. I wonder why. He wrote this novel while in exile during Joseon dynasty that ruled Korea for 500 years from 1400 to 1900. The novel is set in China during Tang dynasty 600 to 900. It's considered the masterpiece of Korean literature, but there is some argument whether it was written first in Chinese or Korean. Also for some, as it is set in China, this doesn't count as Korean literature, but it's the first Korean literary piece to be translated into English in 1922. Some parts read more like a fable than a novel, but the subject matter is quite important as it deals with the meaning or the purpose of life. What is the story? It's about a man who travels back and forth between 2 separate lives, or reincarnation, one of a Buddhist monk and another of Confucian politician. It's a philosophical thought experiment on what if all your life's dreams came true. Would you be happy? A young Buddhist student monk gives in to temptation. When he sees 8 beautiful girls by a stream, he starts flirting with them. The girls are also flirting back. As punishment, he is reincarnated as the smartest and the most handsome man with all the worldly pleasures. He gets to live with 8 beautiful maiden fairies as his wives and lovers. Life couldn't be more perfect. Power, prestige, romantic conquest, brain and brawn. He had everything. He passes all the exams of military and civil service and becomes a huge figure in the kingdom for his fight against the Tibetans. Years pass and our hero lives a life most people would dream of. But at the heart of this novel is this central question. Would you be happy if you had everything? It turns out the answer is no. But it takes him a long time to realize this. First, he notices that all his fortunes and pleasures are fleeting. They come and go. At the height of his power and prestige, he realizes that he's going to die one day. This breaks his heart. The more you have, the more difficult it is to part. Be it love, money, power, fame, or fortune. He realized that worldly pleasures and attachments make him miserable. In order to be happy, he has to live a simple life. At the end, he becomes a Buddhist monk, detaching himself from all worldly possessions that Confucian order had offered him. I like how the author plays with dream and reality. When you dream to be successful, whose dream is that? You, the current unsuccessful self, or you, the one who finally succeeds? In other words, once you achieve your dreams, are you still the same person who dreamed that success? And are you still happy? According to this book, the answer is no. After going through life, the hero realized that it was all an illusion. Being in the moment with little or no baggage would be a happier person. The more you have, the harder it is to part, which causes misery in us. The book has a deep Buddhist overtone, using virtue, sin, and temptation as its structure. Most of the novel deals with the sin part. It's also a great book to understand the biggest dichotomy in Asian cultural values. On the one hand, Confucianism values social harmony and age-based hierarchy at the expense of individual expression. On the other hand, Buddhism values detachment from social engagement. This book also references Taoism as this hipster third religion that deals with artistic expression and subconscious mystery we call the flow. Okay, our next choice is considered the most Korean story, conveying the unique Korean sensibilities, and it's read in all Korean schools. So everyone in Korea knows this story. Hundreds of Korean dramas and movies have been influenced by this short story, especially the scene of the title Rain Shower or Sonagi, written by Huang Sun-won and published in 1952. What is the story? A country boy sees a city girl by a stream looking at her reflection in the water. When she notices him spying, she throws a pebble at him and calls him a fool. The boy returns to the stream the next day, but she isn't there. From that day on, he always rubs his finger over the pebble that was thrown at him. Days pass, and one day he tries to see his own reflection in the water, but he sees the girl's reflection instead. He is embarrassed, and he runs away only to trip and fall. A few days later, they meet again, and they become friends. She suggests they take an excursion in the fields, picking flowers, getting into mischief with a farmer. But on the way back, they find themselves in a sudden heavy rain. Thus the title of this story. They take shelter in a haystack, but their huddle isn't very long as the rain stops very quickly, emphasizing the fleeting moment of love. After the rain, the boy carries her on his back to cross a ditch. After that rainy day, the boy continues going to the stream, but the girl doesn't show up. Days later, she comes and tells him that she caught a cold from that rain and still not feeling well, and shows him the stain on her dress she was wearing that day. She gives him some dates as a gift. That evening, the boy collects walnuts to give her the next day. At home that evening, he's lying in bed. He overhears his parents mentioning that the girl had passed away. Also, strangely, her wish was to be buried in that same dress she was wearing, perhaps to save her parents from buying new clothes to bury her in. While reading it, I teared up a lot. It's a beautiful story capturing the fleeting yet sad first love between two teenagers. As we saw with the Izu Dancer by Kawabata in Japan, it is the end that breaks your heart. A girl meets a boy is a common story, but what's unique is the untold emotions, the indescribable feeling of when you first fall in love. Then when you think you have it, it's snatched away from you forever. The brutality of life. That rain was the most beautiful moment in their life together, but also caused the devastation that came after. Nothing you can take for granted. Everything is fleeting and temporary. You also get to read about how beautiful the Korean countryside is, the tranquility, the rolling hills, the fresh water, the lush greenery, and even the stepping stones. Now there's a village theme park named after this story. Our third choice is somewhat recent. It was published in 2009 and translated into English in 2013. It's called No One Writes Back by Jang Eun-jin. What is the story? Well, it's a story of Ji-hoon, who is a 30-year-old man suffering from anxiety. He and his blind dog leave home without destination to meander from motel to motel, place to place, following the blind dog for 3 years. Because being at home causes him seizure. While traveling, he meets people, learn their stories, assign numbers to each one. Then he writes letter to them at the end of the day. But nobody writes back. Every morning he calls his friend to see if there's a letter for him, and the answer is always no. But he remains hopeful that someday someone will write him a letter to break this spell of travel madness. Later, he meets a writer who is also traveling to gather materials for her stories, so they travel together. After 3 years, Wajo, the dog, is too old to continue, so they return home expecting a reunion with his parents and siblings. Here is the first shocking revelation in this novel. He realizes that they were actually killed in a car accident. Remembering this traumatic experience brings back the seizure, but we're not done yet. There's another twist at the end. He's informed that he has a huge box of letters waiting for him. All those people he had written to, in fact, replied to him. While reading the letters, he cannot stop his tears and also realizes that his seizure is gone and he isn't alone anymore. It's in these letters he feels restored. His life becomes bearable. The power of writing, the power of communication. The writing of this novel is very simple and flowing, full of observations about travel, about the pretentiousness of modern world. What is it about? I guess life itself. We think we know where we're going, yet if some alien followed us from above, they would see no purpose in what we're doing, except that we keep going. It's in the going and writing that we find purpose. In the process, the moments, the people we meet, the places we visit, not what comes out of it. This novel deals with loneliness, and writing is a way of understanding the world and filling the lonesome hours. It's like screaming in a forest, not only to let out your emotions, but you're also hoping someone will hear your pain and say something something back. What I loved most about this novel was the freedom to aimlessly wander about without any place or possession. It makes you think of what is important in life. Having possessions give you comfort but keep you stuck in one place. Not having things is a form of freedom but can be lonely. It's the connection that we make that counts. That's all that matters. Okay, to summarize the three stories. Song-jin, our monk hero, had to make his own mistake to learn what made him happy at the end. A simple life and his focus on now, not future dreams. Our teenagers thought they had found each other, but their happiest moment in the rain also caused the saddest moment in their lives. Our traveling hero went through all the ups and downs we all go through. At the end, what's important is the journey itself, not the destination. To sum up, all these stories teach us one thing: to be in the moment. Past, future, power, success, all are nothing but illusions. Sadly, that's all from South Korea. Join me again as we read another country on our journey to read books and stories from every country on earth. Please tell me which of these stories you like the most and what are your favorite books from South Korea.